But seriously, like when you've got one of those big weeks coming up, right? It's the trade deadline or it's free agency or it's a draft, and you know it's going to be 24/7 to an even greater extent than it typically is. You know, great chess players for a chess match, you don't think of it as physical. They have to train physically, right, to endure it. Do you guys go to someplace mentally or physically to train to get ready before those big events on the calendar?
I would say this, that it's, if you go back to when you're in college and it's the week before finals, that's what it feels like. And you just know all the work that's ahead, you know, all the hours that await, you know, the lack of sleep that there's going to be. And it happens every year. And that's why I always love getting to about April 1st, because we've just finished the heart of the NFL offseason. You're headed into the draft season, and you can catch your breath and feel like a person again, which really throughout the month of March, you don't often get to feel like. Those are victories that you relish in at that point in time. I think when it's those busy times, whether it's the trade deadline for Jeff or free agency for Shams or whatever it may be, you know you're in it. And there is no way out of it other than to just immerse yourself in it, get through it the best way you can, and look forward to coming out on the other side of it.
I make spreadsheets.
Of course you do.
It allows me, because here's the thing. When you're going into a time like that, and I think the fellows can attest to this, there is so much information coming at you at once that it can be really difficult to organize it in your head. Like, knowing if somebody asks me offhand,
like, these are the teams, these are the players.
Yeah. I mean, there are 30 to 32 teams that we have to deal with. In Shams's case, there are 15 players, and mine there's 26, and Adam's there's like 60. Like there's
60 a day. 60 a day, Jeff.
I mean, there's just an enormous universe of players and of teams and of sources that you have to keep in mind. So the way that I found works best for me is be as organized as I possibly can be, so that if I need to look up who all the relievers are available, all I got to do is click at the top of a column and it'll give me the list right there. If I need to look it up by age, by years of service, by who their agents are, by what clubs they have, at least I have that information there. And even if it doesn't in actuality make me any likelier to get the news, it helps me feel prepared. And walking into trade deadline day or walking into free agency with the feeling that you have at least some sense of what's going on, to me makes the difference between a day that's going to go well and a day that could be disastrous. Because we are where we are in our professions. I'm as grateful as I can possibly be for that. But I still lack confidence sometimes. I still have bad days. I still look when I get beat by a story and get pissed off and wonder, am I losing it? Like, what went wrong here? And so all these things are, I don't know about you guys, those things go through my head all the time. And that's just my way, having that information organized, that's my way to fight that.
You know, it's crazy, Jeremy. I do something very similar to Jeff. Like before every trade deadline, before every free agency, before every draft season, like if I know there, like, of course, free agency is like, you can look it up online. You know, you can look up like the top 30 free agents, you know, you write down top 30. Like in my notepads, I like have the 30 top free agents, their agents, but then trade deadline and then draft season is usually where there's a lot of trades, right? So you'll have like a list that you'll have internally. If this ever if this ever leaked, you know, everyone would see which players I'm tracking that could be traded, right? Because like Adam and Jeff can attest to, on any given day during the heart of that type of season, draft, free agency, trade deadline, there's probably 50 to 60 players that you're monitoring at all times. Probably 5 or 6 actually get traded. And so in the NBA, especially with the player movement that's been going on over the last several years, I literally make a list. I make a list of like all the team execs or agents that I know I can reach out to for said player or whatever. And I'm just checking them off. And it's like, for me, just visually seeing that, especially in free agency, helps. And then as far as prep, I think I go back to the advice earlier. It's like, I feel before free agency, before draft, before trade deadline, all my work, I feel like has been done. Like, I really feel like a lot of the work has been done just from the communication that's already been there with relationships and sources. But again, you can't prepare for Luka Doncic being traded. There's certain things you genuinely don't know is coming. You can't prepare for, and that's what gets you on your toes, right? That's what gets you the adrenaline rush to an even higher level, higher extreme. And so those are the moments you live for. And why you feel like the people that might give you that information are the people you're dealing with all year on stuff that is, you're not expecting, a news of that caliber potentially. So to me, I feel like the work has already been done. And when you get in that moment, it's like you feel like you're built for it. Like Adam said, you're not going to have sleep that week or those couple weeks. You're going to be in a locked in zone. You're not going to be the most reasonable person to be around. You're going to be a little irritant. And so I know when I get in that place, it's time. And thankfully, like I said earlier, having people around you, your loved ones that like understand that's been most important for me. Like if I had one of my family members that like genuinely was upset, or like my mom harbored feelings against me for that, I don't know if I could continue to do this, but they've been very open and like they've been great that I want to do this.
The Luka story, right? And massive global scoop, all that. What was it like in that moment for you? And my career is not nearly distinguished as any of yours, but I've had a couple of scoops over the last like 30 years. Nothing on that kind of level, obviously. But like my sense was always like you had so much adrenaline, I didn't even think about eating, and which is rare for me. So like, what was it like for you in that moment?
I mean, it was definitely surreal. It was a whirlwind that night. I mean, I didn't sleep. I slept like 30 minutes that night, and I had a flight the next morning to Bristol to go to Bristol for free agency. I'm like, we're going to be covering De'Aaron Fox trade. We're going to be covering Jimmy Butler getting traded this week. There's always going to be other outlier deals that come up. But those are the big names. And then when that came up, what's crazy, and I'm sure Adam and Jeff can attest to this as well. So that deal happened on a Saturday night. On Wednesday, I gotten a tip from a few sources that essentially the Mavs and Lakers were talking about a deal. There was a player they were discussing. That player was nowhere to be found in the actual deal. But it was like I was getting hit up by other team execs, coaches I know in Dallas, coaches I know with the Lakers, people around both teams like, hey, we have something going on. It's about this player. And then, you check with people that you trust. And they're like, no, there's nothing there. I'm like, okay. So when I got, the heads up that, Markieff Morris is being traded to the Lakers. Maxi Kleber is getting traded to the Lakers. Jalen Hood-Schifino is going to Utah with a couple second-round picks. I'm like, what the hell is this? Like, what kind of trade is this? Is this like a salary dump deal? Like, what am I covering right now? And then obviously everyone buried the lead. And then, by the time I got down to it, it took 7 minutes. By the time I got the tip on it, it was 11:05 Central, 11:12 Central. I tweeted it. It took me 7 minutes to get all the details, confirm it, write up the tweet. And that's definitely one tweet. And the one thing that eats at me is having a typo in a tweet. I hate editing tweets. I hate it with a passion. It eats at me. Even the slightest typo. So, but that's a tweet I like. You can't have any typo. You can't get anything wrong. So I like went through it multiple times.
Wait, so does your editor see that tweet before you press post or whatever you press?
No, you're going with it. Especially, I mean, definitely, there's moments.
In your head. There's no editor in that process anymore. Even something that big.
There's no one even. I mean, there was no one that was up. It was 12:12 on a Saturday night.
I think they would have woken up if you'd called them.
They would have woken up, but that was also when I wasn't telling many people about it. I was just, I'm going with
it. Jeremy. Like in that moment, it's like I don't know if you guys have this, and in this situation, Shams, like I don't know what it would have been like, but when I get really big news and I'm not near my computer, I'll always go to my computer if I can, because I trust my typing fingers more than I do my thumbs. But if I get really big news, my hands start shaking a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Just because I want to make sure every little detail of that is correct. And because your mind is still like, Shams, your mind has to have been trying to process everything. Like what here, Jeremy, this to me is like the coolest part of our job. Think about what you're about to do when you send that tweet. You are literally going to change the course, or not change the course, but deliver news that is changing the course of a sports history. You are about to make nights. You are about to ruin nights. There are going to be fights in houses because of you, and there is going to be champagne popped because of you. That's what the responsibility of this job is. And that's that's why I think each of us, I'm proud that we all take it as seriously as we do. And we understand that the consequences of having that finger touching the button that says post has a chance to affect not just America, but in the NBA's case, in the NFL's case, the world instantaneously. And there is immense power in that.
Let me speak for Shams and Jeff and me and Pete and anybody who has done this job.
And let me just say, Adam, Pete would have been here, but I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about his private, but he just had a baby. I don't think it's a state
That's
secret.
a weak excuse. That's a weak excuse.
Very weak excuse.
So you talk about releases and getting away. So in July, the first day of July, actually it was June. What's the last day in June? 30 or 31? I don't even know how many days. 30. Okay, so it was June 30th and July 1st.
That's all
I was invited to go play at Oakmont in the site of the U.S. Open. I'd never played there. I'm not a very good golfer, but there was a guy that had organized a trip, 8 guys. Great. Okay. Fly to Pittsburgh, land in Pittsburgh, and get wind that there are a few trades coming down. Now, I happen to be riding with this guy who had never been up close and seen this. And he's like, I can't believe you're reacting like this. I go, what? He goes like, I can't believe how much adrenaline you have, how fired up you are, how wound up. And that's what I guarantee you Shams feels like that on any big story. I guarantee you Jeff feels like that on any big story. I guarantee anybody who does this job feels like that on any big story. I've done this for 35 plus years. I'm 58 years old. If your heart isn't still pounding, if it's not skipping a beat or two, if you're not feeling that surge of adrenaline, then you shouldn't be doing the job.
What's your Mona Lisa?
Amen.
Amen. If you could pick one, and I know it's like asking you to pick, your favorite kid, but of all the scoops, all the big stories, all the tweets, all the things that have reverberated around the world once you press send, what do you consider your Mona Lisa, Adam?
I don't like to think like that, Jeremy. Honestly, I like to think of more the times where people reach out to you and like, hey, want to give you a heads up on this story, and they keep their word and they honor what they said. Like those are the things that mean more to me than any story that I've done. I've heard from people, coaches and players have called after trades have been made to thank me for the way I presented it. Things like that you remember more than individual stories. And not to be cliched or anything, but you're asking for a big story, and I would go to what Tom Brady would say about which was his favorite Super Bowl ring, the next one. And that's what it is. The next story is my favorite one.
Jeff?
Mine is not a transactional scoop. I got a call from a guy named Drew Robinson, and he wanted to tell me a story about how he had tried to kill himself and lived through it. And the story I wound up getting out of that and the relationship I wound up making with Drew, it goes beyond the Emmy that is over my shoulder here, or beyond the written story, which I think is the best thing I'm ever going to write. I think it goes to the point. I think it goes to the point, Jeremy, where all of these years of doing this transactional stuff bought me credibility that allowed me to fulfill what I got into this business to do. And I'm very appreciative of all the people who have trusted me over the years, and very thankful for all the relationships that I have, because, impactful journalism is what I wanted to do. And with that story, I felt like that's what we were able to.